Most people don't learn this lesson until they achieve everything that they want in this life. Whether they get that promotion, whether they become a millionaire, whether they finish the degree, or so on and so forth. I was making more money at the age of 23 than anyone else I knew, even my parents. But yet, I still quit my job. And here's why. So, at the age of 23, I was actually making $14,000 in a month at a particular point of time. And yeah, it was good money, but like I said in the introduction, until you've actually achieved a certain level of success, you really start to think, is this really what I want out of life? Or are there other things that are more important to me than just money? And to me, that was a mind-blowing thing that only occurred to me once I was able to get this amount of money. But the amount of sacrifices that I actually had to make in order to achieve this sort of income was just not worth it for me. So at 22, 23, I was still in university, mind you, so it was a full-time degree, but I was working 3 different jobs on the side. You guys know that I wanted to build up my trading capital in order to get to a point where I was comfortable to leave school and all of my part-time jobs. I was doing other side hustles like Grab food, Grab delivery, teaching tuition, and giving out flyers. So I was doing all of these things to actually achieve $14,000 a month at this age. I knew that it was unsustainable, and this was not a way that I wanted to live the rest of my life. I knew that it was completely unsustainable. I worked, I studied, I went to school, I came back home, did my tutorials, did my group projects, and I went to bed. And I repeat that every single day for 3 years. And in this span of 3 years, I actually managed to save up about $100,000 while I was still in university. And then once I achieved this financial milestone, I said, okay, this is my pot of gold. This is gonna buy me my ticket to actually get freedom in life. And that's when I decided to actually just go ahead and quit school. I was already thinking about these things way before I was actually in university or way before I was actually doing side hustles already. Like, this was part of my psychology. I knew that when I went into university, it was only purely to buy me time. It was my plan B. If my side hustles or trading didn't work out, then I'll actually revert back to university, get a corporate job, and really just basically suck thumb for the rest of my life. So let's think about university, right? You're gonna pay 20-odd thousand just in school fees alone, not talking about transportation, food, books, all of your other expenses when it comes to university. If you add all of that up, it's gonna be closer to maybe $40,000-$50,000 over the span of 4 years. After that, how much income would I actually be able to generate? And would that be a secured thing that I'm actually able to go ahead and get? I remember I was studying extremely hard. I was already first class honors at this point in time. So what I did was I asked my professor, hey prof, I'm first class honors right now. If I graduate, what's going to be my starting pay? I just want to know. And he told me it's going to be about $4,000 to $5,000 because it's an engineering job. And you're going to get no overtime pay because an engineer is an executive position. So you're not going to get any sort of OT pay, no nothing. I thought about it. I was like, okay. So if I managed to save even 50% of my income, in order to pay off my degree, I needed to work for another 2 to 3 more years, and then my net worth would essentially go to zero. So I was thinking, is it going to be worthwhile at the age of 28 years old to have a net worth of zero after putting 4 years of my life into this degree and hoping that I get a job? What if I don't get first class honors? Is my pay going to be lower? What if I don't manage to secure a job? And all of these things really started to compound. So that's when I realized that if my plan B sucked so badly, then I should just go full in on my plan A or anything else, because that $50,000 down pay for a $5,000 a month job at max was just not worthwhile for me. So I can remember since I was a kid, everything that I did was really just for that portfolio. In order to get a good 9-to-5 job. Back when I was a child, I remember that my parents put me through any sort of co-curricular activity that you could actually go ahead and think of. I was in swimming, I was in track and field, I was in cycling, I was in tennis, I took chess lessons, I was in billiards, I was in table tennis, and everything that I did was solely just to put on that portfolio. Nothing that I did was ever to my interest. Everything was just to win a competition or win a prize so I can put on that CV, and hopefully later in 10 years, 20 years, my employer is going to look at my portfolio and think, oh, this guy went for a chess class. Congratulations, I'm going to hire him instead of the other guy. I remember even when I was in school, I was actually banned from playing sports, team sports, because that just didn't really add to my CV, and my dad actually sat me down and told me, hey, you're banned from playing soccer, playing frisbee, and playing with your friends, because what if you guys get injured? And if you get injured, then you can't go for training, and if you can't go for training, you're not going to win at competition. If you don't win at competition, you can't put it on that portfolio. Yeah, so that ruined a lot of my childhood experiences. I had very little friends because I was always the outsider. I could never go to their house to go and hang out after school because I had training. I couldn't go to parties with them because I had training, because I needed to rest. Okay, I need to wake up at 3 a.m. on a Saturday and Sunday to go for cycling, down the highway for 40 kilometers, and then straight away transition to a run. And after that is back to doing my schoolwork and then going to tuition class, and then it just repeats every single week for months and months and months and years and years. I think it wasn't solely that. I wasn't thinking so far ahead as a kid. I wasn't thinking that because I could cycle or I could swim or I could run, that eventually a fund manager was going to hire me if I decided to go into finance. It wasn't that. It was the fact that I was made to do things that I completely did not want to do, but I had no choice to go here and do. No kid wants to wake up at 3, 4, 5 a.m. in the mornings in order to go for swim trainings and then go to school. No one wants to go for tuition classes immediately after those trainings when you're so damn tired, and then just to get good grades, to beef up that portfolio. I just didn't like the fact that whatever I did was not to my interest, and yet it was so damn tough. And the results that I got from these things weren't even going to directly correlate with what I wanted to do in the future. I was a kid, right? I didn't know that if I ran this quickly or if I swam this fast, that would correlate with me getting a better job. I couldn't understand these things. And the more I grew up, I understood that it's going to be the same thing in the corporate world. You're going to be made to do things that you completely don't want to do in order to further your career that's completely unrelated. Performing well at a marketing internship somehow is going to land me a job in finance. Really? It doesn't make sense. And more it solidified my ideas that I shouldn't be doing things I don't want to do to please people that may or may not want to look at these things in the future. One story that I actually have was back when I was 16 or 17. I remember I was back in the car with my dad. We were driving home after training and he was extremely quiet. So I thought to myself, oh, maybe he had a bad day. Maybe his boss scolded him at work, or maybe he was stressed about project deadlines, so on and so forth. And it was completely quiet the entire way back. So when we got off at home, I just did the usual thing. I went to shower, went to eat, go out to my room and did my math homework. And that's when my mom walked into the room. She pulled me aside and sat me down and said, hey, I need to tell you something. It's going to be extremely serious. I was like, oh my god, what the hell? Because my mom is not a serious person. She has never sat me down like this before. So I was expecting, oh no, like did I do something wrong? So I was thinking, did my teacher complain about me? Did I do something naughty in school? And I was completely prepared for that. But what she said next really shook me. She said, your dad is retrenched. Your dad doesn't have a job anymore. And I completely lost it. I didn't know how to react. I was like, why would you drop this bomb on me? I don't know how to react to this. I can remember, when I was younger, after school and after training and on the weekends, my dad would actually bring me into the office, to quote unquote spend time with him while he actually did his overtime work. In his office, I would be sitting at his colleague's desk, I'll be taking their pens, drawing from paper from the printer. I had a really good relationship with my dad and his colleagues, and even his boss, who actually came over to the house quite a few times. So him being retrenched was a complete foreign aspect to me. I didn't think that could actually be possible. So I sat down and I just couldn't figure out why that was the case. Why would you fire someone who worked at this job for 10 years straight, always did his job on time, went above and beyond, went to the office when he was the only one working overtime and really putting in his 100% effort? I couldn't understand that. And only a little while later, my dad actually told me, oh, it's because it was for cost-cutting measures in the company. Yeah, so him being retrenched or fired in this case was completely irrelevant to his performance at work. At the end of the day, it was actually because he overperformed and because he was being paid a little bit higher than anyone else that decided to cost cut him. Yeah, the loyalty for the company went completely out the window. All the social capital he built up with his colleagues and his boss went out the window. They were no longer working with him. And you know what? These people just completely disappeared from our lives. That's when I started to really realize what was the point of, giving your life to this company, giving your life to this job, when at the end of the day, they can just look at you and say, oh, this guy is just another number. I need to go ahead and cut and just remove you from the entire company with no remorse. Even some of my friends who just recently graduated from university, they were in really good degrees. They were in information systems, computer science. They were getting A pluses the entire time. They were first class honors. Remember, that was my plan B, getting first class honors in my engineering degree. And they got their first class honors. They got their internships in place. They actually had contracts signed that they would actually be hired by particular companies in Singapore. I can't name who, right? But the moment they graduated, because of the decline in the tech industry, they actually ripped up their contract. They said, you know what? I don't want to hire anyone anymore. This position is no longer open. So sorry for the time you put into the internship and into the company, but we can't hire you you, and now they're unemployed after they graduated. So now they're saddled with all their student loans, a lot of debt, and just a lack of direction in their life because they put everything into their degree in the hopes of getting a good paying job. And once they got that contract, they felt their life was secure, and suddenly it was all taken away because of a cost-cutting measure. I just couldn't understand how anyone could live with that instability in their life. At any moment, someone in HR can say, okay, this guy, he's fired, he's retrenched, and then all the effort you put in is just completely gone. I just could not live with that. I respect anyone that can actually work a 9 to 5 and actually deal with that sort of stress, because everyone thinks that whatever I am doing is risky, but I couldn't think of a more stressful thing than giving 100% every single day, and one fine day, it can all go to zero by completely something out of control. So when I look at 9 to 5s, a lot of people say that it's very comfortable, it's very stable, and I would actually agree with that sense, but it actually hinders your growth in many aspects. So if you think about 9 to 5, you're paid to do a particular job in a particular amount of time. So if you can do this job in a shorter span of time, it doesn't matter because there's nothing else for you to go ahead and do. You know that every month you're going to get that $4,000 paycheck or that $5,000 paycheck the same day, every single one on this particular time. So there's no real incentive for you to actually go ahead and improve your own skill sets, right? So that's number one, because if you go ahead and improve, then number one, you might be signaling to your other colleagues that you're trying too hard, and then they start to hate you, or you do so good of a job that your boss is going to give you more responsibilities for the same pay. So that's one reason why I feel staying in a corporate job would actually hinder your growth. Just in my opinion, it would hinder my own personal growth. So I can't speak for anyone, but this is for myself. For trading, I was always motivated to improve myself, right? I could either improve my strategy or I could improve the amount of capital that I could have. Like I always tell all the members, trading is always twofold. It's number one, you gotta have a profitable strategy. Number two, you need to have a lot of capital. So because of this, there's no limit to how much I could actually earn. I could improve my strategy and then I could increase my capital, then improve my strategy, then increase my capital. It's a never-ending game and there's no limit to how much I could actually earn. It actually motivated me to actually just constantly improve myself. That spoke to me more as a person who didn't like to be told what to do, how much I could do, and when to do it. I don't want to do things on my own time because I'm a very self-motivated person. But if we go back to the topic of thinking about how transferable skill sets actually are, working in 9 to 5, if you think about it, if you go from one company to another company, the skill sets are essentially non-transferable. You're going to be building so many things in company A. For example, social capital with your colleagues, social capital with your boss, building different sorts of relations in different kinds of departments so that you can get a leg up to get that promotion, so on and so forth. If you left this job, if you were retrenched from this job, all these things go away. The way one company works is not the way that another company works. It is essentially non-transferable. If you talk about even skills like sales, a lot of people like to preach that sales is the number one skills that you guys actually need to go ahead and learn. If you start off, for example, as an insurance agent, you're a very good insurance agent. You know the product very well, you know how to source your leads very well, you know how to sell, for example, like savings plans or ILPs very well, and you transition over to property. The basics sales skills still transfer over, but it's a completely different market. The product's completely different. The way you market to your clients are completely different. The way you talk to your clients are completely different. The way you service your clients are completely different. There's different hierarchy in that different company. Everything changes once again. It's not transferable. But why I chose trading and why trading really spoke to me is because those skills were essentially completely transferable. If I look at a market like forex, if I wanted to trade Euro USD and I wanted to use the technical analysis that I have actually gained in this field, support, resistance, candlestick patterns, FVGs, order blocks, all these things can be transferred to crypto. And I could do the same thing when it comes to stocks and indices, commodities. Everything is essentially the same. That's something I realized. I got my footing in forex. When I tried it on crypto, I made money. When I tried it in stocks, I made money. That's when it really solidified. No one can ever take this skill away from me. It's in my brain. Unless someone goes into my brain and drills it out and puts it into someone else, it's never gonna go away. So the next reason why I actually left my high-paying job. Most people think that, $14,000 a month, that's going to be amazing. Why aren't you happy at the job? But most people only look at the dollar amount. They think, okay, you should be happy $14,000. But you have to understand what I actually had to go through in order to get to $14,000 a month and what kind of value I was providing to the company and the kind of expectations that actually were imposed on me. I just felt that it wasn't really worth my time. But to understand at this point in my life, I was a full-time student. I was already working other side jobs. I still had to teach. And honestly, I had a really shitty boss. And that's one of the main reasons why, even if you have a really amazing job, even if you love the work that you do, you love your colleagues, there's one thing that you absolutely cannot control, and that is if you have a shit boss, which I did. And that really solidified, the main reason why I will never work a job. And I really respect those that can actually deal with the BS. So I remember during this time, I was already earning $14,000 a month. I was working myself to the bone. I was working essentially the entire time on weekends as well. And I remember my boss actually sat me down one day and he said, "Oh, Leonard, how are you feeling? Like, are you feeling okay? Do you need some water?" And I was like, "Oh, you know what? Maybe he isn't such a shitty boss. Maybe he actually cares about me." But he said, "Hey, you have to take care of yourself, okay, Leonard? You are my #1 money printer." And in my mind, I thought, what the actual fuck? Okay, to this guy, I was still just another decimal in his bank account. Yeah, all I was doing was making him richer while he didn't have to do any of the work that I was doing. Mind you, I was working myself to the bone already at this point. The weekends were gone. Weekdays were gone. All I was doing was studying, doing grab food, doing deliveries, and then teaching tuition. Like, I did nothing else. I had no social life whatsoever. No parties, no going out with friends. And at this point in time, I also realized that, okay, I can't grow anymore. I've already hit my ceiling. There's nothing more that a 22, 23-year-old me can do. My ceiling is $14,000 a month. Is that really going to get me rich? Even if I had a high savings rate, even if I save almost all my money after paying my taxes, I can at most save $100,000 a year. After paying off my school fees, which is going to take maybe 6 months, when will I actually hit my first $1 million? Because that was my goal. I always knew money was so important. When I saw my friends not getting their jobs, I knew money was important. When I knew how much I had to pay off for my school fees, I knew money was important. So my #1 goal was to hit $1 million as quickly as possible. If I started to continue at this job with my savings rate, even if I don't go for vacations, I don't date, I don't bring anyone out to eat dinner, I don't buy any gifts, I don't give any money back to my parents, it's going to take me another 10 years in order for me to get my first $1 million. So maybe closer to 40 is when I would actually hit my first pot of gold. And by then, you must think about it. I'm probably going to have kids, going to have a wife, have more responsibilities. It might take even longer. And looking at the rate of inflation, that just wasn't going to cut it. When it comes to trading, like I told you guys before, there's only 2 steps when it comes to trading, right? You have your profitable strategy, and then you have the amount of capital that you can actually go ahead and have. So because I didn't want to do a 9 to 5, I actually had to, look for other ways. And I thought, okay, if I can't work corporate, then I need to start a business, as all naive young people actually want to do, right? But when it comes to business, you must always look at, okay, is this business scalable? Or am I still going to be working a quote-unquote over-glamorized 9 to 5? And when it came to trading, I realized that there was true scalability. At this point in time, I already had a working strategy. I could make 6-7% a month profitably, consistently. So the only other aspect that I was missing was the capital. So you have to realize that while I was, really sucking my thumb, working for my shitty boss, doing 3 jobs at this point in time, it was really just to gain enough capital, enough confidence in myself that whatever I could do trading would replace whatever income I could actually have having a job. And when I could make 5, 6, 7K a month consistently on my 100K capital, that's when I realized, well, why do I have to work a job? Even though it's less than slaving away for my boss, there was infinite scalability. You must understand that while working, my job, I maxed out my hours. There's no more hours that I could work in a day to gain more income. But when it comes to trading, I thought if I could just double my capital, if I could increase my win rate by 50%, then essentially I would have matched that income. So I took a bet on myself. I said, you know what? I would rather focus on something that has sustainability, a market that will never go away, and complete scalability. And that's when I decided to go fully into trading. And you know what? It just worked out for me at the end of the day. I would say one piece of advice I can give every single one of you, whether you are a trader, a business owner, or just working a normal corporate job, is really just start the thing for yourselves. Alright, everything in my life has shaped the way that I am today. Whether it being doing things I didn't like as a kid, my dad getting retrenched for all the hard work that he's put into a company, or having a shitty boss just like me. I would say the one main important lesson that you guys actually need to go ahead and learn is start to have some sort of self-control when it comes to your life. Don't just let life lead you on. I just couldn't understand how anyone could actually sleep at night knowing that one day they've put their decades worth of work into a company, and because of a cost-cutting measure, they just retrench you. Or because of an economic downturn, or because they don't want your job position anymore, because of HR, they just cut you out, and then you're left to your own devices. I couldn't understand that. So in this day and age, it's getting more and more important. I would say get a skill set that is, going to be infinitely wanted in this world. It could be anything else. It could be marketing, it could be trading, it could be any sort of side hustle. What I'm saying here today is not telling you to quit your 9 to 5 job. If you're in that and you're happy, congratulations. But I would start to say, at least I hope I've opened your eyes to the risk of a 9 to 5 job and a corporate job that I myself have experienced. I'm not speaking, from a high horse because I've made it as a trader, because I'm now rich. I'm saying it from my own personal experience, speaking to a younger Leonard who maybe is sad and depressed because his family is now in a very bad financial position because his dad got retrenched. And I would just be talking to someone that feels the same way I do, and hopefully this leads you down a different life path and you guys can actually start to have some sort of self-control over your life. And hopefully you guys like talking to Nick and I today, and just really hope to see you guys on the next one.
Bye bye.